These divisions, they are man-made. We have eyes, but we cannot see. We've got to find a new way to be. This is a worldwide black family. No matter where you're from, Africa is still your home. Cuban or Dominican or Panamanian, no matter where you're from, Africa is still your home. Jamaican or American, Haitian or Brazilian, one Africa. To the world, where we bring God. All around together the world. We stand, live and live all the world. One Africa. We gotta love you just so great. All around the world. Get free. The time has come for us to get free. It's time we break the chains of slavery. We got to find a new way to be. This is a worldwide black family. No matter where you're from, Africa is still your home. Mexican, Colombian, or Boricano. No matter where you're from, Africa is still your home. Belizean or Peruvian, or Honduran. One Africa. To the world, where we bring God. All around together the world. We stand, live and live all the world. One Africa. We gotta love you just so great. All around the world. They don't wanna see us unite. All they want us to do is keep on fussing and fighting. They don't wanna see us live together. All they want us to do is keep on killing one another all around the world. One Africa. 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 We got to find a new way to be. This is a worldwide black family.
Proud to be black, I'm an African. From higher heights, I'm a militant. West Africa, me from an Vatican. We were born with the light, we under the sun. Repatriation is a must if you liberate yourself. We tired of the war and fight. As there is nothing you can do, know yourself, you know your history. Work out for uplift to new life. Freedom we need. God, I'm mother of civilization. Peace to the world. One love, my religion. Together we are gonna build up the nation. No matter where you come from, we are one blood. Accept one another whenever you touch road. Listen me, see links to the globe. For one for all, so the thing go.
We got to find a new way to be. This is a worldwide black family.
streets of Haiti's capital.
Chipotle and Bel Air right now are being restrained by automatic gunfire by former military riding around in pickup trucks who apparently are not considered to be bound by the 6 p.m. curfew that the United States has put in place in Haiti.
Hold on for a second, please. President Aristide resigned. He has left his country.
You went yesterday to the palace at night.
No, I did not.
Representatives of
Did the U.S. push President Aristide out of power?
What does not make this a coup d'etat, as ambassadors understand it? Rebels force, fear, flee.
I am still the only elected president of Haiti. They voted for a president. A good number, unfortunately, were killed for that.
There wasn't any question that things were going to fall apart in Haiti. This man failed to deliver. The hopes crashed.
President Aristide didn't just make mistakes. He willfully misgoverned. He lost his ability to control the whirlwind of violence that he had unleashed on the country for a decade.
Do you have evidence that supports these allegations against President Aristide?
We know his record.
Moi vle, moi décidé pour tout Haïtien vivre en paix.
Aristide lui-même, il fait à un pile pauvre. Quitte yon moun tap gade, quitte moun konne sa m'a dit ya, m'parent pour mal nan mog la.
Haiti's poor as dirt. Children are still dying. To see the Haitian people living like that is incredible. My hair is standing on the back of my head right now as I'm talking to you. This is such a waste. This is so undignified. This is a crime against humanity.
Okay, hi, hello everybody. Greetings, greetings, greetings. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I see you on the chat. Hey Monica, hey Rob, hey Michelle, hey Deborah. Oopsie Daisy. I can't listen to myself speak while I'm speaking. I had the YouTube going to make sure it was working. First of all, I want to apologize for the technical difficulties that had us starting a little bit late today. I want to say it was the government, but it wasn't. It was me. I had the wrong encoder selected in the software that we use to stream. So that was all me, y'all. But I figured out the issue. Hopefully I'm coming through loud and clear. If you have any issues hearing me or seeing me, by all means, please let me know in the chat because I can see what you're saying. So the intro music that you just heard was the song One Africa by the revolutionary Pan-African artist Candace Antique. Candace Antique, longtime friend of the APRP, also a wonderful musician. All of her songs are about African liberation, African resistance, and African people uniting all around the world. So again, that song was One Africa by Candace Antique, and you can actually find it on Spotify if you want to jam to it. And then the video that was just played, hopefully it played well. I saw y'all talking about it, so I think it worked, was a trailer for a documentary that we're actually going to be screening on Saturday for the rescheduled Pan-African film series. That documentary is called Aristide and the Endless Revolution, and it is about the U.S.-backed coup under President George W. Bush that overthrew Aristide for the second time. That's right, the U.S. overthrew the same guy 2 times, but overthrew Aristide for the second time in 2004 and put in yet another U.S.-backed dictator. So we're going to be showing that movie on Saturday. But today on the show, we're going to be talking about the very first time Aristide was overthrown by the U.S. government by George Bush's daddy, George H.W. Bush. So the same family leading the same empire overthrew the same guy 2 times. It's not funny. I'm laughing because it's so ridiculous. Like, U.S. imperialism is so trifling. But before we get into that, let's go through our intro steps, our standard intro. First and foremost, if you don't know, my name is Onya Sanwu. I am a cadre with the All-African People's Revolutionary Party. I am based in Tiwa Territory, also known as Albuquerque, New Mexico, where our New Mexico chapter is here and thriving. There's quite a few of us. We just recruited someone. I did an orientation last night. Yes. But yeah, we do this show, Weekly Pan-African News, every single Thursday at 12 p.m. Mountain Time. We have been doing this show for over a year at this point. Since March of 2020, when the pandemic first hit. I said pandemic not because I believe in COVID conspiracy theories, but because I truly believe that the U.S. government and the ruling class planned for a lot of people just die, just to let them die. So that's why I called that. But at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic last spring, we were like, we can't have in-person events. It's not going to be safe. So what do? We still want to talk to people. We still want to work with our people. What can we do? And so the show is one of several programs we came up with alongside our elder care program and the outdoor events we do at the garden and other things, virtual events that we do on a consistent basis so that we could continue to like build with y'all and learn with y'all, but we could do so in a way that was safe and socially distanced. So we have been doing the show every single Thursday for over a year. We have talked about many things from a revolutionary Pan-African perspective. We're going to continue doing this show for the foreseeable future because we love it and we love y'all. And for those that also don't know, the All African People's Revolutionary Party is a revolutionary Pan-African socialist political party. In fact, a mass revolutionary Pan-African socialist political party. It is based in Africa. Our strongest and most vibrant chapters are in Africa, but we have chapters throughout the African world, including all over the United States. I was recruited in Oregon. I helped with the chapter in New Mexico. All over Europe. We have some chapters in Canada. We have some chapters in the Caribbean now. So yeah, we are building, we are growing, we are trying to be everywhere where African people are because we are trying to organize the masses of people, of our people, around a political objective. That objective is Pan-Africanism. And by Pan-Africanism, we mean one unified socialist Africa. One unified socialist Africa because Africa is being looted and exploited by this raggedy capitalist system. The entire global foundation of the capitalist system is based on exploiting Africa. It was in fact made into a global system by enslaving our ancestors, by buying and selling our ancestors, and by stealing indigenous people's land. And so we're like, no, we're not going to have Africa looted for y'all's pockets. No, we want to collectively and democratically control our own land, labor, and resources, period. And the way that we can do that is with one unified socialist Africa. So that is the objective of the APRP, and that is what we are fighting for alongside our people all around the world. So that was the who we are and what the heck this is part of the intro. And there's two more things that we always do at the beginning of every show. The first thing that we always do is we want to call in an ancestor. We call in an ancestor. And the reason why we do that is because we understand as revolutionary African people fighting for liberation, fighting for justice, that we are part of a struggle for liberation that began hundreds of years ago, centuries ago in fact, that began the very first moment the very first European colonizer set foot on the shores of Africa. That very first colonizer I was just reading in a history book about Azania was like wrecked, like they killed to death, as they should have. If we had kept doing that for every single one that came, the trajectory of history would have been a lot different, but African people, like most indigenous people before colonialism, we were like humanistic. We were like, hey, do you want some help? Do you want to come hang out with us? Do you want to like, live in peace? And the Europeans were like, sure. And then they like backstabbed us as they do, as colonizers do. So, I forgot what I was talking about. Oh yeah, so we call it an ancestor because our people have been fighting for centuries. Since that very first European got set foot in Azania and got wrecked, our people have been fighting back against colonization, have been fighting back against capitalism and imperialism continuously. So understanding that, I have to know as a revolutionary African woman in 2021 that I did not get here on my own. The only reason I'm able to be here talking to y'all today, the only reason I'm a part of the APRP, the only reason why the APRP exists is because our ancestors fought and struggled and survived and built a foundation upon which we could struggle, that we could use to struggle forward. They are the only reason we're still here. Like, when people say we are not our ancestors, that is so insulting. Because your ancestors are literally the only reason you exist, like on a biological basis, but also in terms of like ideology, in terms of politics, in terms of the condition of your people. We are here because of them. So we have to honor them, obviously. And for revolutionary African ancestors, they get lied on constantly. Constantly. Like this capitalist, imperialist society constantly disrespects and lies on revolutionary African people. Everybody from Malcolm X to Kwame Ture gets lied on. All these, Assata Shakur, members of the Black Panther Party, all these people get consistently lied on by the capitalist system because the capitalist system wants us to reject them. The capitalist system wants us to fear and reject revolutionaries fighting for liberation because those revolutionaries are a threat to capitalism. So this system is consistently lying on them, and it's our responsibility as people who are only here because of them, as people who are fighting because of them, to tell the truth about them as we honor them so that we can replace that capitalist narrative. So that was a long introduction to this part, but I just want to give context. So the ancestor that we want to call in today is a man who is very important to the history of the development of the All-African People's Revolutionary Party. He is, in fact, the founder of the All-African People's Revolutionary Party. That man is none other than Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah, the first democratically elected president of Ghana after Ghana gained its independence from British colonialism through a peaceful mass people's movement that elevated Kwame Nkrumah to power. On Ghana's very first Independence Day, Kwame Nkrumah gave a speech where he said that the liberation and independence of Ghana is meaningless without the total liberation of the African continent. He later went on to create programs that nationalized Ghana's vast natural resources, created good union jobs for the masses of people in Ghana, used Ghana's resources to create those jobs, to create factories to manufacture, say, like the rubber from the trees into tires that were produced in Ghana and sold in Ghana. Like we went to the tire factory at the 50th anniversary of the APRP. It was 3 years ago, and we went to this tire factory called the Bonza Tire Factory, and it was like literally surrounded by rubber trees. And in this factory, they employed hundreds of Africans from the surrounding area. They gave them union jobs, they gave them healthcare, they gave their families housing, they gave them professional training. And then in that factory, they manufactured tires using Ghanaian labor with Ghanaian rubber. Before that factory existed, they had been imported tires from Liberia, tires from US-owned companies for exorbitant prices. Once that factory was built, they not only did not have to import the tires anymore, but they were able to sell them and generate income for the country using their own labor and resources. So some examples like that exist throughout Nkrumah's tenure. Like it happened for cocoa, it happened for sisal, it happened for fishing. He had like a project in mind to like provide electricity for the entire African continent. So this man was like a visionary who was like all about African independence, all about African self-determination, all about African people developing the infrastructure in our nations that we could use to take care of ourselves instead of depending on foreign aid from colonizing governments. That was Nkrumah's vision. He also had a vision for continental African unity because, like he said in that Independence Day speech, Ghana could not hope to maintain its freedom if the rest of Africa was colonized. If Ghana was completely surrounded by colonial and neo-colonial states, it was only a matter of time before Ghana's independence was threatened. So Kwame Nkrumah set about building relationships with revolutionary African and Pan-Africanist movements all across the African continent. Relationships with people like Sekou Touré of Guinea, with Thomas Sankara of Burkina Faso, with Amilcar Cabral of Guinea-Bissau and the PIGC. All of these people knew each other. Julius Nyerere in Tanganyika. All of these people knew each other. All of these people were in conversation with each other. Patrice Lumumba of the Congo. All of these people are working together. Quiet as it's kept. People always talk about them as like singular fingers, but they were all committed to the project of Pan-Africanism. They were all committed to building continental African unity while fighting for liberation in their own individual nations. So Kwame Nkrumah was overthrown in a US-backed coup, as they do, because as soon as a leader comes to power, a nation that is about national liberation, that is about socialism or any kind of form of redistribution of wealth, is it about anti-imperialism? The U.S. is like, no, thank you. Can you get out of here? That has happened all over the African continent repeatedly. It's happened throughout the African world. We're going to talk about another example today. And so, of course, they got in there, overthrew Nkrumah. Nkrumah was taken in by Sekou Touré of Guinea, became co-president of Guinea with Sekou Touré, and while in exile, waiting for conditions to improve in Ghana so he could go back, Nkrumah wrote this book, The Handbook of Revolutionary Warfare. The Handbook of Revolutionary Warfare. It is the blueprint for the APRP's revolutionary strategy to build Pan-Africanism. In the Handbook of Revolutionary Warfare, Kwame Nkrumah calls for the formation of the All-African People's Revolutionary Party and the creation of the All-African Committee for Political Coordination. The intent of the All-African Committee for Political Coordination was to unite the struggling anti-colonial parties, the struggling revolutionary socialist and nationalist parties all across the African continent within one organization that could push forward to continental Pan-Africanism. So Kwame Nkrumah is the reason why the APRP exists. Kwame Nkrumah is one father of the APRP's revolutionary ideology, and Kwame Nkrumah put forth a vision of continental unity and how to get there that remains relevant to this day. So his birthday is September 21st, 1909. September 21st is celebrated as Founders Day in Ghana and throughout the African world. This coming weekend, the All African People's Revolutionary Party is organizing a webinar alongside our comrades in the Convention People's Party, which is Kwame Nkrumah's party, the MPLA, which is the revolutionary organization that led the anti-colonial struggle in Angola. Is that right? I believe it's Angola. Alongside the PIGC, which, as I mentioned, was the party co-founded by Amilcar Cabral that liberated Guinea-Bissau from Portuguese colonialism. At the time, Portugal was backed by NATO, so it was no small feat. And so all of these organizations are coming together from across the continent to honor Amilcar Cabral, to honor Kwame Nkrumah, and to talk about the history of the struggle to build Pan-Africanism, the contributions of these great men, and the state of the movement today. It should be an incredible time. It's at 10 a.m. UTC, and I looked up the time zone conversion, and y'all, it's 4 in the morning. It's 4 in the morning here in Tiwa territory, but I'm going to go. I'm going to go. Because when do you get an opportunity to see African organizations coming together from all over the continent to talk about revolution in 2021? It's a can't mess event. I will be there at 4 a.m. We're going to put the flyer up when we do the closing credits later on so you can see how to connect. But I just want to plug that as I am plugging our founder, our hero, our ancestor, Kwame Nkrumah. Thank you so much for your contributions. Unmatched. Unmatched. This is a man who is consistently lied on by imperialism, but his contributions to the struggle to liberate Africa and to liberate African people are unimpeachable. Unimpeachable. So salute. Salute Kwame Nkrumah. And then the last thing that we always do, as the last thing in the intro, is that we want to do a land acknowledgement. Like I said, I am speaking to y'all from occupied Tiwa territory, also known as Albuquerque, New Mexico. Albuquerque is the name of a Spanish colonizer. It's the name of a dude that came here to steal land and kill indigenous people. He just slapped his name on someone else's face. But this land belongs to the Tiwa Pueblo. And the Tiwa Pueblo is in fact here. We work with them all the time. They're still here. They're still fighting for their land. They're also fighting to stop resource extraction on this land. Like the Biden administration wants to drill for oil, wants to frack, wants to destroy water, wants to destroy land. And indigenous peoples all over the United States, including here in Tiwa territory, are in the front line of stopping that shit. They're like, we need water to live, and also catastrophic climate change is already here. Why are you still drilling for oil on our land? How have you not learned this lesson? It's indigenous people on the front line of that fight being like, stop. Like, what? So we have to acknowledge that this is their land. Just like land was stolen all over Africa, land was stolen all over the Western Hemisphere, y'all. And the people whose land this actually is are still here, are still fighting for it, and are in fact fighting for all of us by resisting resource extraction. So they deserve our unconditional support. When we say land back, it is not a metaphor. We're not just saying it just to say it. It is a promise. It is a curse on the capitalist system. Land back means we are taking it back. From Africa to Turtle Island to occupied Palestine, all land that was stolen will be returned to the rightful owners. Point blank period. So yeah, that is the land acknowledgement. I see y'all talking. I see Monica dropped the link on the Facebook stream of a PDF of the Handbook of Revolutionary Warfare. You should definitely check that out. And now we can move on to the next part of the show, which is the political education section. You are not going to go to an APIP event anywhere in the world, quite frankly, where you are not going to get some aspect of political education as a component of that event. It is the core of what we do. It is the core. Like if you are a member of the All African People's Revolutionary Party, you get PE on a constant basis. Constant. Because we understand, like Ancestor Malcolm X said, that you cannot organize the sleeping people. You must wake that people up, and then you get some action. Political education is how you wake up. And then it's like a continuous process of waking up, because I'm like 8 years in at this point in the APIP's work study process, reading through the book list, learning about Africa, Pan-Africanism, socialism, colonization, neocolonialism, learning all of these things. And I feel like I constantly am still learning new things on a consistent basis. I feel like every day I'm like, wow, this thing I thought was actually capitalist propaganda. This is actually the truth. It still happens constantly, because as you start to engage in a process of political education, you develop your critical thinking skills. As you develop your critical thinking skills, you start questioning everything. And at first it's like, damn, I can't watch anything. But now I love it because like pointing out the lies of this backward system, being able to see it clearly and explain it to other people makes you feel incredibly empowered because you can see it's a bunch of nonsense. You can see it's a house of cards, and you can understand how we can take it out as a collective and build something better. So that's the purpose of PE. We want to learn. We want to struggle. We want to develop our critical thinking skills to question everything about this backward system. This is why we do it. It produces revolutionary consciousness. Point blank. So yeah. The PE topic today, as I mentioned at the beginning, we're going to be talking about US-backed coups in Haiti, but within a specific period because it's a deep conversation. The United States, alongside NATO, alongside the core group, alongside France, have been messing with Haiti for a long time, for like 100 years at this point, if not longer. Actually, yes, longer. Because the U.S. put sanctions on Haiti right after the Haitian Revolution, like over 200 years ago. So it's been even longer than that. But what I'm trying to say is that the U.S. history of intervention in Haiti is long and barbaric, and a full conversation about what has happened in this relationship would take quite a long time, much longer than we have today. So today we're going to focus on the coup that overthrew Jean-Bertrand Aristide in the early 90s. We're going to talk about the first coup because, again, Jean-Bertrand Aristide was overthrown by a US-backed coup 2 separate times. They overthrew the same guy 2 times. We're going to be talking about the first time Aristide was overthrown, and then this Saturday, we're going to talk about the second time. So the specific time period we're going to be talking about today is from 1986 to 1991. So, first of all, what was happening before Jean-Bertrand Aristide became elected president of Haiti? Well, Haiti had been living under the barbaric rule of 2 US-backed despots. You've probably heard their names before. The first one is Papa Doc, the daddy, who ruled from 1957 to 1971. And the second one is Baby Doc, who is exactly what it sounds like, the son of Papa Doc, who ruled from 1971 to 1986. They're called Papa Doc and Baby Doc in colloquial terms, but they're also known as the Duvalier family. They were brutal US-backed dictators responsible for the death of thousands of people in Haiti. They had consistent US support the entire time they were in power. They were so emboldened by that support that they declared themselves presidents for life. But one very important thing to understand about Haiti is that ever since the Haitian Revolution, the Haitian people are not with the shits. If the Haitian people don't like who is in power, the Haitian people are going to be in the streets being like, get out. Despite the consistent efforts of the US government to oppress and brutally exploit Haiti, the US government and the colonizers all around the world have never been able to consistently destroy the spirit of resistance of the Haitian people. The Haitian people are always going to be like, I'm not doing this, we're rising up. So it was precisely such an uprising that forced the ouster of Baby Doc in 1986. But before that happened, the US have been providing consistent training and funding to the Haitian military and to the Papa Doc and Baby Doc regimes. But because they understood that those regimes were like obviously barbaric, obviously brutal, that everybody could see the blood created by these men, the US provided this military aid in secret. They would funnel the aid through forces like Israel, for example, to provide weapons and training to Haitian military forces that would then use those weapons and training to brutally repress the Haitian people. After the Haitian people managed to force out Baby Doc in 1986, Baby Doc fled the People's Justice aboard a US Air Force jet to France. The man got on a US military plane and escaped to France before the people could hang his ass up. After Baby Doc was deposed, the US resumed open military aid to Haiti. It was Baby Doc and Papa Doc were too unpopular to do it out in the open. But after Baby Doc was pushed out, the US was like, sweet, let's get that money in there. So they increased military aid to Haiti to over $30 million annually in the period after Baby Doc was deposed. They propped up a series of transitional military governments in Haiti that were incredibly brutal. In the 21 months between Baby Doc's abdication and the military coordinated elections that were scheduled for November 1987, the military-backed Haitian governments were responsible for more civilian deaths than Baby Doc had managed in his entire 15-year period of rule. So in the 21 months after the Haitian people pushed out Baby Doc, the military puppet governments that the U.S. put in power managed to kill more people than a brutal dictator had managed to do in 15 years. Like, Baby Doc was bad is what I'm saying, but those military puppet governments were much, much worse. And they had the open support of the U.S. government. In that same time period, that 20-month time period between Baby Doc's escape from the People's Justice and the military-run November 1987 elections, the CIA worked to help collaborators with the Duvalier regimes escape Haiti. These are people who were responsible for mass deaths, for tortures of activists and journalists, for disappearances, and just general terrorism against the Haitian people for rising up against colonial rule. The CIA helped these people escape, and some of them are living in the United States. At the same time, within that same 21-month period, which I hope you are understanding was barbaric for Haitian people, U.S. aid organizations like the National Endowment for Democracy, who will come up again in this conversation, worked to discredit the Haitian left, such as it was. They wanted to make sure that when the November 1987 elections came around, that all forms of left politics in Haiti would be discredited. So they slandered these leftist organizations as communists, said that they were backed by the Russians, and were basically like, don't deal with them, tried to scare the Haitian people away with them. At the same time, as the Haitian people desperately needed the policies the left was pushing for, policies around healthcare, around redistribution of wealth, around providing a safety net for the massive Haitian people that they had never had under all of these U.S.-backed dictators. So not only did the U.S. fund a military government that was assassinating, killing Haitian people en masse, not only did they help the perpetrators of crimes against the Haitian people get away, but they also worked to make sure that when the election happened, people who were actually about the people in Haiti would be completely discredited. This is what the United States tried to do, like a full court press to make sure that Haiti would remain colonized. It's so raggedy. Like, as I'm talking about this, I'm getting so angry and I'm going to start swearing. So I'm trying to calm it down. But like, the story of Haiti, like the story of the Congo, is the story of like people continuously like fighting back, continuously rising up, continuously being like, we want to build our own way, and oftentimes succeeding only for imperialism in the form of the U.S. government, in the form of the UN, in the form of the core group to come in and like dash their hopes over and over and over and over again. It's so frustrating. So around this point, we start to see the emergence of Jean-Bertrand Aristide as a popular political figure in Haiti. So who was Jean-Bertrand Aristide? Well, in this time period, which is again from 1989 to 1990, Jean-Bertrand Aristide was a priest within the Catholic Church. He was a priest. He had a very broad following among the masses of poor and working class African people in Haiti because he was one of the only Catholic Church figures to speak out openly against the Duvalier regimes. He was like, these people are not for us. These people are U.S.-backed puppets. We should not submit to their leadership. Like, he was out in the open with it at the same time as like other Catholic Church figures were backing the Duvaliers. So that's why the people were with him, because he was speaking out for the people. Jean-Bertrand Aristide was a proponent of liberation theology, which is a concept I'm still learning about. But my understanding is that liberation theology blends the teachings of Christianity alongside an active push to organize the poor and working class against their oppression. So it's not just about saying like Jesus is going to come save us. It's about saying that we believe in Jesus and also we're going to fight for ourselves. You can see very quickly why colonizers would object to such an ideology, telling the poor and working class that they can organize to fight back against their oppression in the name of Jesus. Oh my goodness, like that's probably terrifying to them. In fact, at a Senate Intelligence Committee hearing, a senior official of the CIA was asked, why did the CIA seek to oppose Aristide? And this senior official said, liberation theology proponents are not too popular at the CIA. Maybe second only to the Vatican for not liking liberation theology are the people at Langley. So this person is saying the Vatican hates liberation theology because, the Catholic Church was a massive colonizing force. It actually still is. And the Vatican itself is propped up on a foundation of stolen wealth. Wealth stolen from Africa, wealth stolen from indigenous peoples all over the Americas and all over the world. So the Catholic Church is not about any kind of anti-colonial class struggle. So the Vatican, of course, hates liberation theology. And this man is saying the CIA does too for the exact same reason. Because the CIA is the intelligence agency of an empire. They are a force for colonization and neo-colonization. They don't want any kind of anti-colonial ideology or anti-colonial struggle in their face whatsoever. So again, an ideology that combines the teachings of Christianity with a push to organize poor working class people against oppression is something that the CIA, the Catholic Church, and the entire U.S. government and Western imperialist apparatus is going to strongly object to. So John Bertrand Aristide comes out talking about we hate the Duvaliers, talking about we hate the military, talking about let us rule ourselves, talking about the poor working class have to organize and resist, and the United States and the CIA and the Catholic Church were like, no thank you. So John Bertrand Aristide, in addition to speaking out openly against the Duvaliers and openly against the U.S. military, also denounced the military coordinated Haitian elections that were scheduled to happen in November 1987. He said that they were going to be a farce. He said the U.S. military and the Haitian military, backed by the U.S. military, are our primary enemies, and we should reject any kind of attempt at them holding an election. They are not going to hold a free and fair election. He called on the masses of African people in Haiti to reject the November 1987 elections coordinated by the military. He called for a boycott of those elections. He made the United States very, very mad by saying that. Ronald Reagan straight up called him a communist. He was not a communist. He was radical. He was a nationalist. At that time, he was not a communist. And then Assistant Secretary of State for Inter-American Affairs, Elliott Abrams, yes, that Elliott Abrams, attacked Aristide in Time magazine while praising the murderous Haitian transitional government that we just talked about that was killing thousands of people of Haiti. Elliott Abrams said that Aristide was a filthy communist, but that the transitional military government was doing a great job. He said that in Time magazine. So U.S. government officials were extremely openly hostile to John Bertrand Aristide just for him stating the obvious, that no free election was going to happen under military rule, and that the transitional military government was a piece of crap. He was just saying the truth, and they were like, how dare you? So the elections that the military was supposed to have in November 1987 to elect the new puppet government were eventually postponed thanks to outspread violence. The military regime was targeting the Haitian people. The Haitian people were fighting back in the streets. It forced the postponement of the election. They were scheduled for January of 1988. And the candidate that was openly favored by the U.S. government and by the transitional military government was declared a winner in a victory that was widely perceived as rigged. There were widespread rumors of CIA involvement in that election that was held in January 1988, but no conclusive evidence was ever presented, because that's how the CIA moved. It doesn't mean they weren't actually intervening. It just means they did it in a shady-ass way that people could not find the receipts for. Anywho, after that election in 1988, the masses of people in Haiti experienced more violence, experienced more terrorism coming from the very top, coming from yet another U.S. puppet government. A new repressive dictatorship. Eventually, the Haitian people were able to push out that puppet, but then another puppet came right back in March of 1990. That military dictator, that puppet that came in March of 1990 was General Prosper of Real. General Prosper of Real. The masses of people in Haiti never stopped resisting these puppet governments, never stopped taking to the streets, trying to force them out. We've actually been living through, up until the assassination of Moïse Jovenel earlier this year, the same thing. The masses of people in Haiti were in the streets saying, we do not want this man in charge of us. We do not want him. Before Jovenel is like Michael Martelly, the same thing. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Every time the United States government puts a puppet in power in Haiti, the masses of African people in Haiti always fight back. They were always in the street fighting back militantly, saying, we do not want this. And so Prosper came in, Prosper Avril came in, and Prosper Avril was pushed out too. Widespread protests by the masses of African Haiti pushed the puppet government out yet again. And I want to say that, like, this is, like I said, this already happened to Baby Doc. Like, that's why Baby Doc fled to France on an Air Force jet. Because the amount of people in Haiti were in the streets saying, we do not want this. Same thing happened to Jovenel. Same thing happened to Martelly. Same thing happened to Prosper. It is a repeating pattern here in Haiti. And one thing to understand about how imperialism sees this process is that U.S. imperialism would much rather have stability backed by brutality. If they encounter a situation where their puppet is facing consistent mass resistance in the streets, they consider that to be a problem. They would rather have a situation where their puppet is killing as many people as possible, so it's just quiet and relatively stable, so they could just loot in peace. So when the masses of people in Haiti take to the streets and say, we do not want this, it creates a problem from U.S. imperialism that prompts imperialism to move. So it was actually the U.S. ambassador to Haiti that pushed Prosper to step down. He was like, man, these people are in the streets every day. We can't loot in peace. It's just not working out. Can you go? So they helped Prosper leave Haiti, as they do, just like they helped Baby Doc get out. And also, like, there's widespread speculation that the U.S. government had some kind of hand in Moshe Jovenel being assassinated, precisely because of what I just pointed out. All of those continuous uprisings against Jovenel's rule were extremely inconvenient for the United Snakes. They did not cover it in U.S. media, but the shit made them nervous, y'all. The shit made them nervous. Because when there's that kind of chaos, when there's that continuous uprising in a place where the U.S. is trying to exploit and repress, it could go either way. It could create chaos that the U.S. can exploit, or it could create chaos that might lead to an organized people's uprising. They don't want that to happen. They don't want an organized people's uprising. They don't want the possibility of the emergence of another Castro or another Aristide. So they would rather replace the puppet. I spilled water on my keyboard. Oh no, okay, it's fine. So they don't want a situation. So they would rather replace the puppet that's getting protested with another puppet who might do a little bit better than back the puppet against all odds. Like, you are disposable if you are a U.S.-backed puppet, and as soon as the people move against you on a consistent basis, the U.S. will get you out of there and see if they can get someone who can repress better. So hopefully that makes sense. So yeah, after General Prosper Avril was forced out by those widespread protests, after the U.S. ambassador was like, please get out of here, it's not working out, another civilian puppet government came in, but the Haitian military that was, again, fully backed by the U.S., fully trained and funded by the U.S., was still largely calling the shots. And this is the point where we see Aristide come on the scene as the replacement political figure. So, by this point in history, after Prosper Avril was forced out by the people, Aristide had been expelled by the Catholic Church. He has been expelled by the Catholic Church because, like I said, the Vatican is not trying to have any kind of anti-colonial ideology or anti-colonial struggle pushed in its name. They were like, no, thank you. He was pushed out of the Catholic Church for rabble-rousing. They said he was inciting people to hatred and violence and glorifying the class struggle. They literally said that. So they were like, get the fuck out of here. You're not a good fit for the Catholic Church. And by this point, though, Aristide was massively popular in Haiti. The mass of people were feeling what he was saying. He was denouncing the U.S. He was denouncing the puppets. He was denouncing the military. He was saying all this aid, there's like millions of dollars flowing to Haiti, and the Haitian people have not seen a dime. Like, this is messed up. So the Haitian people were feeling him. The Haitian people were backing him, and they pushed him to run for president. At first, Aristide was like, no, because being president of Haiti is a hard gig. But eventually, they were able to convince him, and he put his name in the ring in October of 1990. On the eve of the election, of the next Haitian election in which Aristide was running, the former U.S. ambassador to the UN, his name was Andrew Young, visited Aristide and asked him to sign a letter accepting the should the U.S.-backed candidate, whose name was Mark Bazin, win, that Aristide would stand down and tell his supporters to stand down as well. The U.S. was afraid that if Aristide lost, the masses of Haitian people that supported him would take to the streets and reject the puppet government they were backing. Mark Bazin, by the way, was a former executive of the World Bank. Like, he was just like, out in the open puppet for imperialism, and that is who the U.S. backed in the election. Aristide, by the way, did not sign that letter. So at the same time as they were trying to pressure Aristide to back rigged results, the U.S. and U.S.-backed forces were engaged in a campaign of terror and intimidation against the Haitian people, trying to discourage them from voting in the upcoming election, trying to discredit the election, in fact, and of course, attacking leftist organizations, journalists, and organizers. So they're basically trying to create an atmosphere of so much fear that people would not come out and vote in the election and elect Aristide. Unfortunately for the United Snakes, that campaign failed. Hundreds of UN and Organization of American States observers were in Haiti observing the election, and it turned out that a free and fair election was held. And Aristide won that election with 67.5% of the vote. He won over 10 other candidates. He won 67.5% of that vote, of that election held in 1990, the fall of 1990. So this is a quote from a scholar, a Haitian scholar who's based in the United States, about the results of that election. This person says, people chose him over 10 comparatively bourgeois candidates because of his outspoken and uncompromising opposition to the old ways. Because Aristide represented a complete rejection of the puppet governments of the past, the masses of people in Haiti lined up behind him, supported his candidacy for the president, and helped propel him to an overwhelming victory in that election, despite a widespread campaign of terror and intimidation boosted by imperialism. So Aristide won despite overwhelming odds because the masses of people in Haiti wanted him to win. Aristide took office in February of 1991, but not before the U.S. attempted to kill him in January of that same year. That attempt, of course, failed. He took office in 1991. And in June of 1991, the Washington Post said that proclaiming a political revolution, where have you heard that before? Aristide has injected a spirit of hope and honesty into the affairs of government. A radical departure after decades of official venality under the Duvalier family dictatorship and a series of military strongmen. Declaring that his $10,000 monthly salary is not just a scandal, but a crime, Aristide announced on television that he would donate his paychecks to charity. That's an article from the Washington Post on the Aristide presidency in June of 1991. So this man came to power and immediately was like, we are going to turn completely away from the old, corrupt, puppet-ass ways. We are going to organize the Haitian state for the support of the Haitian people. And it was so obvious that even the imperialist-ass Washington Post had to call it like they were seeing it. Aristide was a longtime critic of U.S. foreign policy in Haiti because of the U.S.'s support of the Duvalier regimes and the barbarous Haitian military. He was suspicious of all foreign aid and said so publicly. Aristide once said that since 1980, U.S. aid to Haiti amounted to $200 million a year at some points. And these were the same 10 years during which the per capita wealth of the country was reduced by 40%. So he's saying during the Duvalier regimes, the U.S. government gave hundreds of millions of dollars in aid to Haiti, but in terms of the conditions of the Haitian people, their per capita wealth was reduced by 40% in the same period. So what does that tell you? It tells you that the U.S. is throwing hundreds of millions of dollars at Haitian dictators, but the mass of people of Haiti see nothing for it except for bullets and brutality when they fight back against repression. Aristide never laid out a specific economic program, instead preferring to say that the people are going to build a program of their own. On this, he said, I have often been criticized for lacking a program, or at least for imposition in that regard. Was it for lack of time? A poor excuse. In fact, the people had their own program. Dignity, transparent simplicity, and participation. These three ideas could be equally well applied in the political and economic sphere and in the moral realm. The bourgeoisie should have been able to understand that its own interests demanded some concessions. We had recreated 1789. Did they want, by their passive resistance, to push the hungry to demand more radical measures? So he was saying, I don't have to put forward a specific economic program. The masses of African people in Haiti have a program of their own. They want dignity. They want transparency. They want simplicity, and they want to be able to participate fully in the development of the country. He's saying my economic program is going to come for the people. And the bourgeois in Haiti that have been selling us out should just go along with the process, because it's either this or the people are going to come for your heads. That is what Aristide was saying in that quote. So Aristide, from the very beginning, faced heavy resistance domestically in Haiti from that aforementioned Haitian bourgeoisie, but also from the military that were like, you're going to do what? You're taking away our power? Absolutely not. And also from wealthy civilians. So Aristide faced a lot of resistance from these like institutional oppressive forces to what he was trying to do in Haiti. But with the support of the masses of Haitian people, the poor and working class in Haiti, he did accomplish many things. First, he initiated programs, literacy campaigns, programs to support public health, and programs around agrarian reform. Agrarian reform literally means taking the land back from private control from the hands of the ruling class and giving it back to the poor and working class. So that's agrarian reform. He also pressed for an increase in the daily wage that Haitian workers made. At the time, it was often less than $3 a day. And Aristide pushed for a wage increase. He also pressed for a freeze on the prices of basic goods that had been skyrocketing under the previous regimes. He's like, people cannot afford this. We're going to raise the wages and we're going to lower the prices of basic goods. He created a public works program to create jobs for poor working class people in Haiti. And he increased the feeling of security among the population of Haiti by prosecuting the former puppets of the US-backed dictatorships. So he prosecuted a number of key paramilitary thugs, men who had been leading forces and brutalizing and terrorizing the Haitian people. He also set in motion a process to eliminate an institution of rural section chiefs. Basically, they were like police sheriffs who, in like their areas of control, would terrorize the Haitian people living there. So he prosecuted those people and he stripped them of the power. And all of these things combined, like the prosecution of the paramilitary leaders, the stripping of the power of the rural section chiefs, who are again like sheriffs, he was able to systematically strip the military of some of its power to repress the Haitian people. And obviously the military did not care for that. So Aristide, by redistributing the wealth, by providing social service programs for Haitian people, by creating jobs, by prioritizing humanity and life, made the military, the business class, and the legislatures, like the parliament, which is also very corrupt, extremely angry. By fighting for the Haitian people, Aristide made quite a few enemies in the entrenched power structure in Haiti. He also worked to create policies against drug traffic in Haiti, because Haiti was like a major stop in the cocaine trade at the time. And he was like, this is not going to work. The military is actually actively involved in that cocaine trade. And so when Aristide would like pass laws to make sure that it was not going to happen anymore, the military was like, we hate this guy. We hate this guy, because he was working to strip them of their power. So all of those forces arrayed against Aristide could only really end in one outcome, particularly when they were backed by the United States. Aristide served less than 8 months as democratically elected president of Haiti. He was deposed by a military coup in September of 1991, September 29th, 1991. That coup was extremely violent. Thousands of Aristide supporters were massacred in the streets. Thousands more fled the violence. Many of the Haitians that fled in the violence after the coup that deposed Aristide were actually detained at Guantanamo Bay. I learned this year. They were the first people illegally detained at the U.S. military's Guantanamo Bay base on stolen Cuban land. These Haitian people who were fleeing violence and terror created by the U.S. government were illegally detained at that U.S. military base in Guantanamo and held for, in some cases, years. The very first people held at Guantanamo were not war on terror folks, like people who were just like snatched up, Muslims, Arabic people. It was actually Haitian people fleeing neocolonial violence created by the United States. So yeah, I learned that and I was like, wow, like it's just wild. It's wild. So anyway,
Jean-Bertrand Aristide deposed in a military coup in September 1991. Thousands were massacred. Thousands more fled by sea, and some of those people were detained at Guantanamo Bay without trial for a long ass time. The Vatican was like, he's out? Word? And like immediately endorsed the military government that had overthrown Aristide. The Vatican was like first out the gate being like, we support this. Man, the Vatican sucks. Also, Aristide was only able to escape the aftermath of the violent coup with his life, ironically thanks to the support of a French ambassador that helped him get out of the country. So that is the U.S. military coup that overthrew Jean-Bertrand Aristide the first time in 1991. He only was able to serve as president despite being democratically elected by the mass of people in Haiti for 8 months. In that 8-month time period, he pushed a series of social programs to improve the material conditions and the political participation of the massive African people in Haiti. And in response, the U.S. government overthrew him and killed thousands. So yeah, you might have noticed me saying U.S.-backed coup repeatedly. And so now I want to talk about the evidence of U.S. involvement in this military coup that overthrew Aristide in September 1991. First, it's important to say that there is very often no direct evidence of U.S. involvement in these coups. We oftentimes only find out like years later when they like release a document and they just like point blank admit it. That's the first time we have like conclusive proof. But in almost every single case where this happens, and it's happened dozens of times all over the world, particularly all over the African world, there's usually a trail of like breadcrumbs that you can see, that you can investigate to very clearly identify U.S. involvement. So we're going to be talking about those breadcrumbs now. So first, from the mid-1980s, so from the middle of the Baby Doc regime to the early 90s, key members of Haiti's military and political leadership were receiving funding and training from the CIA. Additionally, in the middle of the Baby Doc regime, the CIA, the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency, worked to establish an agency known as the National Intelligence Service. The acronym in French is SIN in Haiti, S-I-N. SIN was staffed solely by members of the Haitian army, and it was widely perceived in Haiti to be an unprofessional military force tainted by corruption. It was again founded and backed by the CIA. SIN was ostensibly created to fight the drug trade in Haiti. But one thing you should know about the drug trade, and specifically about cocaine in this period, is that even though the U.S. was saying they were fighting a war on drugs, the U.S. was actually like the major force ensuring that global trade would not only continue, but grow in scope. So SIN, of course, was created to fight the drug trade, but SIN officials were all up in it. They were all up in it. They were actively engaged in drug trafficking and importing cocaine in Haiti. SIN also functioned as an instrument of political terror. It was a paramilitary force that terrorized the Haitian people. They persecuted supporters of Jean-Bertrand Aristide throughout this period of the late 80s to the early 90s. They engaged in mass torture, disappearances, and killings of supporters of Jean-Bertrand Aristide. They also used their CIA training to spy on Aristide's supporters and other elements of the Haitian left. And if you are a person who is at all familiar with the strategies of imperialism, then the SIN force probably sounds extremely familiar, because the CIA and the U.S. government in general has worked systematically to create these paramilitary forces in places attacked by imperialism all over the world. Honduras has them. Iran had them. Greece had them. This is a consistent strategy of the CIA and U.S. imperialism to create these paramilitary forces that can be used for spying, torture, and murder. This is but they do this consistently all over the world. So, other evidence of this U.S. support and U.S. backing of the coup that overthrew Aristide. A Haitian official named Emmanuel Constant, who came out supporting the coup right away because he was a sellout, reported in the press that he had seen U.S. intelligence officers present at Haitian military headquarters as the coup was taking place. So as the Haitian military was violently forcing out Aristide, U.S. military officials were at the Haitian military headquarters. They were there at the same time. Additionally, Emmanuel Constant that said that the presence of U.S. Officers at the Haitian military headquarters was normal. They were always there. He added for the CIA and for the Defense Intelligence Agency to be there was a completely normal thing. Additionally, I mentioned the National Endowment for Democracy earlier in the program. The National Endowment for Democracy, or NED, gave hundreds of thousands of dollars in funding to Haitian civil society organizations, including the Haitian Center for the Defense of Rights and Freedom that was headed by a man named Jean-Jacques Honorat. Jean-Jacques Honorat. Shortly after the military coup that overthrew Jean-Bertrand Aristide, guess who became the new Prime Minister of Haiti? Yes. Who did you guess? Did you guess Jean-Jacques Honorat, the head of the Haitian Center for the Defense and Rights of Freedom, that had received hundreds of thousands of dollars in funding for the National Endowment for Democracy? Then you guessed correctly, because that is the man who replaced Aristide after the military forced Aristide out. This man who just happened to receive hundreds of thousands of dollars from the National Endowment for Democracy. What a coincidence. What a coincidence. Jean-Jacques Honorat, or not Jean-Jacques, Honorat, who was a piece of crap, said in a 1993 interview after he came to power, in an interview with the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, he said the coup against Aristide was justified by the human rights record. When the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation asked what he had done as Prime Minister to halt these so-called human rights violations, Honorat responded, this is like exact quote, "I don't have my files here." So raggedy. So, a lot to unpack there. But one thing, so this puppet, backed by the National Endowment for Democracy, that was ready to slide in there as soon as the military forced Aristide out by killing lots of people, this guy said the coup that pushed Aristide out, that killed lots and lots of people, it was justified because of Aristide's human rights record. And then the news was like, okay, so how are you going to address that? And he was like, I don't have my files. Dog. Anyway, other things that Ned was up to, the National Endowment for Democracy was up to in the years leading to the coup, they gave more than $500,000 to an organization known as the Haitian Institute for Research and Development, or IHRED. This organization, in that election way back in 1990, where U.S.-backed candidate Marc Bazin, the former World Bank executive, was running, played a very partisan role in those elections. They funded groups that were backing that World Bank candidate while denying funding from groups that were behind Aristide. So this organization, the Haitian Institute for Research and Development, was yet another organ in Haitian civil society that was propping up U.S.-backed candidates, and this organization received over $500,000 in funding from the National Endowment for Democracy. Do you see what I mean by breadcrumbs that indicate U.S. involvement? If you follow the money, if you research the candidates that are being backed by the United States, you can oftentimes see clear connections that indicate U.S. influence. The National Endowment for Democracy also gave lots and lots and lots of money to a radio station in Haiti known as Radio Soleil that was run by the Catholic Church, another recurring figure in colonial interventions in Haiti. During the 1991 coup, military coup that deposed Jean-Bertrand Aristide, Aristide attempted to use Radio Soleil to send a message to the masses of people in Haiti. Radio Soleil, that again received funding from the National Endowment for Democracy and that was affiliated with the Catholic Church, refused to allow Aristide, who at the time was still the prime minister, to use their radio station. Come on now. So, within a week of Aristide being overthrown, the George H.W. Bush administration began to publicly distance themselves from Aristide. They said to the New York Times, or reported by the New York Times, by refusing to say that his return to power was a necessary precondition for Washington to feel that democracy has been restored in Haiti. So George H.W. Bush's administration said, like, this guy could come back or not. It doesn't actually matter. We can still support a government that comes in afterwards, even if he's not back in power again. So in this way, they're not outright saying they support the coup, but they are saying they would rather he not come back, and they're willing to work with it if he doesn't come back. And this is, for folks that were paying attention during the Obama years, when the U.S. overthrew the democratically elected government of Manuel Zelaya in Honduras. Manuel Zelaya was forced out of the country on a U.S. military plane, and he was replaced with a puppet military government. And at the time, Hillary Clinton actually said something extremely similar. She called for free and fair elections in Honduras, but she did not call for Zelaya to be allowed to return. She said, let's hold free and fair elections, and then we won't have to worry about Zelaya anymore. This man had been illegally deposed, and Hillary Clinton was like, we don't have to worry about getting him back. So it's a very, very similar approach. Throwing rocks and hiding your hands, really. The public rationale that was given in the corporate U.S. media for Aristide's overthrow was, again, his human rights record. And that's another recurring theme in U.S. imperialism-backed coups. They're always like, oh, this person's a dictator. They're hurting their own people. And they proceed to put in a government that engages in like mass killings of those people, and they don't say anything. But they always use the cover of human rights to rationalize what they're doing with these coups. And indeed, business executives, legislators, and other opponents of Aristide's government had accused Aristides of using mobs to intimidate them and of condoning violence. And some of the masses of poor African people in Haiti did in fact engage in acts of violence. However, they were targeting the wealthy ruling class that had been exploiting them for decades. So this was not Aristide pushing people to violence. This was poor working class African people saying, we are tired of y'all. You have been oppressing us and exploiting us for years, and we're coming for our shit. So these were people that had been selling out the folks who were getting consequences for selling out. And they said Aristide's making them do this. And that is a reach, y'all. That is a reach. Not only did Aristide not make them do it, but the mass of the poor working class people in Haiti were justified in going after the Haitian ruling class. They were justified. Those people should all be dead, to be quite frank with you. So yeah, it was just poor and working class people seeking revenge for years of exploitation and terrorism by the Haitian ruling class. And the Haitian ruling class was like, wow, our human rights, blah. And then the U.S. used that as a pretext to overthrow his government. Woo! Let me pause. Cool. Additional breadcrumbs. And then we will wrap up this section. So in testimony before the U.S. Congress, the CIA's leading analyst of Latin American affairs, a man named Brian Littell, described the leader of the military coup against Aristide, who was a man named Lieutenant General Raoul Cedras, as one of the most promising group of Haitian leaders to emerge since the Duvalier family dictatorship was overthrown in 1986. He also reported that he saw no evidence of oppressive rule by the military regime headed by Raoul Cedras, that replaced Aristide. However, the U.S. State Department in the very same year said of the regime of Raoul Cedras, Haitians have suffered frequent human rights abuses throughout 1992, including extrajudicial killings by security forces, disappearances, beatings, and other mistreatment of detainees and prisoners, arbitrary arrests and detention, and executive interference with the judicial process. So the CIA is saying, this guy's great. He's the best thing since Baby Doc. He's this dope. He's not oppressing everybody. And then another wing of the U.S. government, the State Department, is like, man, people are being killed. People are being disappeared. This man's like torturing people. Like, one hand does not know what the other hand is doing. But second of all, this is very clear evidence that the U.S. government knew that the government that replaced Aristide was in fact itself responsible for massive human rights violations. Aristide's presidency saw the poor rising up against their oppressors, and the U.S.-backed military dictatorship that replaced him saw the ruling class clapping back, oppressing the mass of the poor working class people in Haiti. And the U.S. clearly saw that. But the U.S. got what it wanted. They pushed out a nationalist and progressive leader by overthrowing Aristide. They replaced that nationalist and progressive leader with their own puppet, who proceeded to immediately start brutalizing the Haitian people. But the U.S. was cool with that, as long as they were able to exploit Haiti in peace. And so the New York Times, a year after the coup, and you should understand the New York Times as a mouthpiece of the U.S. ruling class. It's like the mask-off mouthpiece of the U.S. ruling class. So the New York Times laid it out quite clearly, the position of the U.S. A year after the coup. They said, since shortly after the overthrow, when Secretary of State James Baker echoed President Bush's "this aggression will not stand" statement about Iraq, little consideration has been given to backing up American principles in Haiti with American muscle. Recently, an advisor to the coup government repeated Father Aristide's longtime complaint when he said, all it would take is one phone call from Washington to send the Army's leadership packing. Supporters and opponents of Father Aristide agree, nothing more threatening than a leaky and ineffective embargo quickly imposed has ever been seriously contemplated, which reflects Washington's deep-seated ambivalence about a leftward tilting nationalist who often depicted the United States as a citadel of evil and the root of many of his country's problems. Despite much of the blood on the Army's hands, United States diplomats consider it a vital counterweight to Father Aristide, whose class struggle rhetoric threatened or antagonized traditional power centers at home and abroad. That is, again, a quote from the New York Times 1 year after the military coup that overthrew Aristide, saying that the U.S. government is aware of what the Haitian military is doing in Haiti. They don't care. They would rather the military in power than Aristide, because Aristide was too nationalist, was too about the Haitian people, and the military is willing to allow the U.S. to exploit Haiti. They just came right out with it. We would rather the violence of military rule to the progressive leadership of a nationalist leader like Aristide. So they would rather Haitian people suffer than lose the chance to loot Haiti, is the bottom line. And that is why we have seen progressive government after progressive government in Haiti overthrown. That is why we have seen repeated military occupations of Haiti, not just by the United States, but also by the United Nations and other imperialist forces. That is why Aristide is a figure so reviled in the United States, so openly condemned by imperialist forces. Because Aristide he's not a communist. He's just like a democratic socialist, a progressive. But he's also a nationalist. He's also understanding that the Haitian people have the right to rule themselves. That is what makes him a threat. That is why the United States helped overthrow him in September of 1991. And that is why the United States overthrew him again in 2004, which we're going to talk about on Saturday. So, some takeaways. What does the government of the United States do when faced with a choice between supporting a group of totalitarian military thugs guilty of murdering thousands, guilty of systematic torture of evidence, guilty of widespread rape, guilty of widespread surveillance and repression of leftist organizations? They're given the option between people like that and someone like Aristide, who was a little bit too nationalist but legally elected by the masses of people in Haiti. What does the U.S. do when faced with a choice between those two forces? The United States helps overthrow the peace and back the murderous thugs, because they would rather murderous thugs that would answer to them than they would a nationalist leader that answers to the Haitian people, period. So that is why Jean-Bertrand Aristide was overthrown in September 1991. And this coming Saturday, for the Pan-African film series that's been rescheduled, we're going to talk about in depth the second coup that overthrew Jean-Bertrand Aristide in 2004. And like I said, the coup in 1991 was orchestrated by the U.S. government under George H.W. Bush, and the coup in 2004 was orchestrated by the U.S. government under George W. Bush. So the same family messed with Aristide 2 times because Aristide was fighting for the Haitian people. People say the United States does not have does have a monarchy, and I'm like, how is it that we've had 2-3 Bushes, 3-4 Clintons? Why is it all the same people? Why is it all the same people? Clearly, you have some form of monarchy in this goddamn country. But anyway, so like I said, this show it's entirely focused on the first coup in 1994. I've been going for an hour, so you can see it's a rich subject. Saturday, we're going to do a deep dive into the second coup in 2004 by screening the documentary Aristide and the Endless Revolution. It's going to talk about a lot of the same themes and forces that we've discussed today. You're going to see a lot of connections in terms of what happened. So please join us this coming Saturday at 2 p.m. for the Pan-African Film Series so we can talk about part 2 of this conversation. But that actually concludes the PE section. I am so tired of talking. But let me see what y'all say. 1 second. Let's see. There's so many comments. Let me see. Katie says, revolutionary political education enables you to see through the farce and take the illusion apart consistently. 100% correct. Monica says, the level of evil of colonization and imperialism has no bounds. That's why we need to organize to dismantle these systems. Absolutely. Either we take them out or they will take us out, period. Monica says that they want to learn more about liberation theology, and I do too, because liberation theology was popular across the entire Western Hemisphere, particularly in the Caribbean and in Central and South America. And the United States was extremely hostile to all of the organizations that elevated liberation theology as a strategy. So oftentimes in the United States, people are really dismissive of the combination of religion and politics. But the fact that imperialism considers liberation theology such a threat indicates that there's something there that is worth study, that is worth learning about. So I want to learn more about it too. I'm very new to it. David says, Workers' World Party is having an online event called 4 Years After Hurricane Maria, the ongoing struggle for Puerto Rican liberation. That's at 8 Eastern time. Look out those details. Let me see. Monica on John Bertrand Aristide's 8 months in power. The counter narrative is that he was not doing anything for the people, and literally he was working on so many collective approaches for Haitians. Absolutely. They accused this man of human rights violations. They accused this man of being a dictator, which is very ironic, but all this man was doing was organizing the Haitian state around the needs of the Haitian people. That is why he was a threat. They don't care about human rights violations. The United States routinely works with regimes that cut people's heads off for moral failings and shit. They don't care. They'll back a dictator any day of the week as long as the dictator will do what they say. As long as the dictator will open up the market for U.S. corporations. They don't care about human rights. And so saying we overthrew this democratically elected president because of human rights violations, you should just laugh. Just laugh. It's nonsense. They do not care. The United States is the #1 violator of human rights on this planet. On this planet. So when they say we're going to overthrow this government because of the human rights violations, you should always know that's bullshit. Always. When you hear it, just immediately say bullshit. Because it always is. KD says CIA and the National Endowment for Democracy is busy. Yes, we should. I would like to bring back the comrade Obi Egbuna on the show because he is an encyclopedia and he can tell y'all about the trifling and barbaric nature of the National Endowment for Democracy and also USAID. These two agencies are responsible for so many color revolutions, for so many coups, for so many AstroTurf movements. They are one of the primary tools of U.S. imperialism soft power, and very few people outside of leftist circles know it. But it is essential to understand how the U.S. uses these agencies to engage in attacks on anti-imperialist and socialist states all around the world. We have to understand the National Endowment for Democracy and USAID to understand U.S. imperialism. So someone remind me to ask Obi. I should make a note to myself. What else? Cool. And then Zachary in the YouTube is recommending a documentary called Exterminate All the Brutes by Raoul Peck. Raoul Peck is actually a Haitian and I guess there's some shade about Aristide in the show. I didn't watch it, but I heard very good things about it. So shout out to that show. Anywho, that was the PE section. Thank you for your comments and your participation. We appreciate y'all. Also, I forgot to say this in the beginning, but smash that like button wherever you're watching. If you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button and also share the video so people can see this, so people can tune in and hear about these things that we're learning about. Learn about Aristide, learn about Haiti, engage these conversations, and also I encourage folks to read more about what I talked about today. Read about it for yourself because it's better for I can explain it to you, but like research what I'm saying and understand these patterns, understand how this works so we can take it out together. Anywho, let's move on to New Mexico updates. What's going on here in Tiwa territory with the All African People's Revolutionary Party? First up, we have our next event at the Pan-African Community Garden this coming Sunday at 4 p.m. We have finished sanding our building, sanding, painting, and protecting our pallet benches. We now have 3. They are red, black, and green. 1 red, 1 black, 1 green. They are beautiful. We also have been harvesting more and more at the garden and getting it ready for fall. We put down an additional layer of mulch to help continue to rehabilitate the soil. And so work is continuing apace at the garden. Last Sunday, we had political education where we read Sowing the Seeds of Revolution, which is a speech by Samora Machel of Frelimo, talking about how in learning how to grow food together, in learning how to produce, how to maintain a garden together, we are actually planting the seeds that can be used to grow into a glorious revolution among the masses of poor and working class people, particularly African people here and around the world. It was an incredible conversation among folks talking about how we are actually capable of saving ourselves, but talking about how the system tries to convince us that we're not. Definitely recommend people check out that speech. It's one of my favorites. Again, it was called the Sowing the Seeds of Revolution, and it was given by Samora Machel, who is one of the founders of Frelimo. And Frelimo is the organization that led the anti-colonial struggle in Mozambique. So we're going to be out at the garden again this coming Saturday, or not Saturday, Sunday at 4 p.m. Also, Saturday afternoon, we are going to continue our elder care program every single Saturday afternoon, and we've been doing this for over a year, since the beginning of the pandemic. We deliver care packages with political education, with food, with math, with cleaning supplies and toiletries to African elders here in Tiwa territory. If you know, or if you are an African elder that could use that service, you can hit us up by phone at 505-295-0008, or you can send us an email at abrpnewmexico@gmail.com, and we'll get you on our list of deliveries every Saturday. This also in 1 week. In 1 week, we're going to be having our September Cuba Solidarity Car Caravan here on Tiwa territory on Sunday, September 26th at noon. We're going to be meeting at the parking lot at San Mateo and Copper here in Tiwa territory. And we're going to have some speakers from social justice organizations doing work here in town, as well as some Cuban music and maybe some food. We'll see. So we're going to do the same route where we cruise up and down Central. And it should be a very big, good, fun, cute time. So please come through Sunday, September 26th, 12 p.m., the parking lot at San Mateo and Copper to show up in solidarity with Cuba, because Cuba shows up in solidarity with everybody, even the raggedy ass United States. Additionally, on Saturday, this Saturday, I did the order of this all wrong. It should have been chronological, y'all. My bad. But this coming Saturday, the 18th at 10 a.m. UTC, which is 4 a.m. Mountain Time, goddamn, the All African People's Revolutionary Party, the PIGC, the MPLA, and the Convention People's Party of Ghana are going to be hosting a Victorious September webinar, celebrating the legacies of Kwame Nkrumah, Amilcar Cabral, and other revolutionary Pan-Africanists, talking about the ideology and objectives of Pan-Africanism, and also talking about where we're at in the movement today. It should be a very good time, and you can register for that event. And the info will be on the flyer that I will show to y'all in just a moment. And then lastly, on Saturday at 2 p.m. Mountain Time, 2 p.m., the nice reasonable hour of 2 p.m., we're going to have our rescheduled September Pan-African film series. We're going to be screening the documentary Aristide and the Endless Revolution about the second U.S.-backed coup that overthrew John Bertrand Aristide for the second time. Today we talked about the first time. Saturday we're talking about the second time. So please join us. It's going to be on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook, Saturday, 2 p.m. Mountain Time. It will be a good time. Monica and myself will be facilitating the triumphant return of Monica. I feel like Monica is better than me at doing this, and it's so exciting. Okay, anyway. So, this has been Weekly Pan-African News, presented to you by the All African People's Revolutionary Party New Mexico chapter. My name is Onya Sanwo. I'm a cadre at the APRP of 8 years, and I thank you so much for joining us. We want to remind y'all that it is still a pandemic. It is still a pandemic. It is wild watching how the U.S. government is just like washing its hands of the situation. Joe Biden referred to what's going on as a pandemic of the unvaccinated, like a piece of trash. So they are just leaving y'all to die. But we will not. We are going to continue our other care deliveries. We're going to continue to have only outdoor events wearing masks. We're going to continue our virtual programming, and we hope that y'all will wear a mask, that y'all will continue to social distance, that y'all will continue to actively protect yourselves and your community, because it's an ongoing situation, y'all. It is still a pandemic. However, wearing a mask is not the only thing that we have to do. Obviously, if you feel comfortable doing so, we encourage you to get the vaccine, but that is your choice. But more importantly, we need folks to join organizations that are fighting for justice. And the reason for that is because we have seen throughout this pandemic that the U.S. government is not only incapable of providing an adequate response, but also unwilling to provide an adequate response. And at the same time as they're leaving people to die here in the United States by allowing COVID to become endemic, by allowing mass evictions and crisis situations for families. At the same time as they're doing that domestically, they are also privatizing access to the vaccine internationally, extorting nations that are trying to buy enough of the vaccine to vaccinate their populations by refusing to release the patents of these vaccines. So the United States is just acting raggedy on an international level and a domestic level during this COVID-19 pandemic. They're not going to show up in the way that we need them to. They're not going to show up in a way that's going to save lives. And so that is on us, y'all. We need a rent freeze. We need another lockdown where people are paid to stay home. We need adequate public health infrastructure. We need nationalized health care. Because if you get COVID and you don't have health insurance, what do you think is going to happen? They're not going to treat you for free. This place sucks. Capitalism is all about money. If you get COVID and you don't have health insurance and you work paycheck to paycheck, you are fucked. So we need to join organizations fighting for justice. We need to build a mass movement that has the power to win the things we need to survive this pandemic and the one after that and the one after that, because there will be more. So please, if you're not active in an organization fighting for justice, the most important thing you can do for yourself and for the liberation of all oppressed people worldwide is join an organization, y'all. If the organization you want to see does not exist, then build an organization. And I want to say a note about, so when we say join an organization, we are intentionally not prescriptive about what organization we mean, like what kind of organization. Like we are in the Crimus Terreus, we strongly believe in the All African People's Revolutionary Party and how we move, but we understand that not everybody's going to agree with the way we do things. We understand that not everybody buys into socialism, buys into Pan-Africanism, all kinds of political disagreements, and those are completely valid. But I do think that we have to start being more specific when we say join an organization. Because there are a lot of organizations out here. Many of them are doing very good work. But there are also organizations that are exploitative and abusive to their members. And if by saying join an organization and not being specific, we encourage folks to join these abusive organizations, then we have made a mistake. So when I say join an organization, I want to talk about what kind I mean. They don't have to have the exact structure or beliefs of the All African People's Revolutionary Party, but there are some things that you should always look for to determine if an organization is right for you. The organization should have political education for every single member. Every single member should be expected to actively engage in political education. It should not be a situation where one person reads the book and explains it to everybody else. Because the problem with that is that you are getting that one person's interpretation of the reading, and it could have nothing whatsoever to do with what's actually being said in that book. If you read it for yourself and then engage in discussion with other people about it, you're going to have a much higher understanding of what that book is trying to say than if someone was paraphrasing it for you. So make sure whatever that political education looks like, that it exists and that it's for everybody. You don't want a situation where one person's in charge and explains to everybody else, and you don't want a situation where people are so high up they're considered exempt. No. It doesn't matter what hierarchy exists in the organization. Every single level of that hierarchy as it exists should be required to engage in political education. We have people in APRP who have been in for 40 years or longer. We have people in the APIP who have been in for like 6 months. We have people in the 70s. We have people who are 12. Everybody engages in the same process. No one is exempt. No one is above anybody else. The other thing you should look for an organization that you want to join is the ability to disagree and engage in dissent. Never accept a situation where this person is held up as being in charge and you're not allowed to question them. In the APIP, we have cadre, which is what I am. We have pre-cadre, we have work study, and it's all it really is talking about is how long you've been in and how far you've gone through the book list. But it doesn't matter if it's a cadre or a pre-cadre or a work study person. It doesn't matter if it's a person who's been in for 40 years or a person who's been in 6 months. Everybody is allowed to disagree with everybody else. I've been in meetings where it's like a cadre that's been in since like the 60s, and I'm like, I disagree with you. And it's not a problem. And it's not a problem. I used to be like nervous about doing it because I was like, who am I? And now I'll just do it. I'm like, I don't care. But, you know, it's backed up by like knowledge, and I feel more confident in my organizing, which is why I feel more confident doing it. But there was never a point in the party where I was not allowed to disagree. If you ever join an organization and someone's like, that person's too important, you can't disagree with them, you better seriously question how that organization is working. Because we need to be able to struggle out in the open with all aspects of our ideology, with all aspects of our belief, with anybody within the organization. Anybody should be able to be engaged in respectable or respectful debate. Everybody. No matter who it is, you are allowed to disagree. So look for that. And then lastly, you should be cared for and respected in any political organization you choose. Whether it's an organization that you found yourself or an organization you join after the fact, you should not be disrespected. You should not be berated or attacked. You should not be engaged in an abusive way. People should not be calling each other names and calling that self-criticism. People should not be attacking people's commitment for the revolution because they can't make a meeting or they fall asleep. People should not be made to feel less than if they drop the ball. If I drop the ball, then I have a responsibility to self-criticize and own it and do better. But that does not mean belittling me as a person or making me feel like trash. So if you are ever in an organization where that is the case, where people are attacking you on a personal level and calling it self-criticism, that's another indication that you have to seriously look at how that organization is moving and if it is right for you. So I want to have deeper conversations about what we should look for in organizations that we try to join. And I also want to say that I think it's good that the APIP is not prescriptive about what we mean when we say join an organization. But like I said, like there are key things that an organization needs to have regardless of tendency, regardless of what they believe, in order to be a healthy, good functioning organization. And we should talk about that more, and so we will. Anywho, join us next week on Weekly Pan-African News. We are here every single Thursday, 12 p.m. Mountain Time. I cannot tell you what the show next week is, but I guarantee you there will be one. So please tune in Thursday at 12 p.m. Mountain Time. Also, today is Thursday, which means that there will be new writing on Hood Communist shortly. You can check it out at hoodcommunist.org. In just a bit, I'm actually making the post. So after I get off of here, I'm going to frantically upload the new articles. They're very good this week. So please check those out later today. And then lastly, my name is Onya Sanmu. I'm a cadre with the All-African People's Revolutionary Party, and this is our program, Weekly Pan-African News. We thank you so much for joining us. Please stay tuned for some promos for upcoming APIP events and some jams. Have a good rest of your day.
Hey! Atom! Reloaded! Atom! Reloaded! Junior! Ha! Yawa Krum! Yawa Krum! Rastafu Krum! Rastafu Krum! Yawa Krum! Harop Fu Krum! Harop Fu Krum! Yawa Krum! Fresh boys, fresh girls! Fresh boys, fresh girls! Yawa Krum! Wayamami! I'm Shafe, I'm Kwajalami! Yawa Krum! Rastafu Krum! Rastafu Krum! Yawa Krum! Harop Fu Krum! Harop Fu Krum! Yawa Krum! Fresh boys, fresh girls! Fresh boys, fresh girls! Yawa Krum! Wayamami! I'm Shafe, I'm Kwajalami! Yawa Krum! Me wo Krum! Wash what up, so the young shimbo. Me Jimmy, my kunko, the lions den. Chata boom, don't try me. Me tribo, her off where you feel in some mampo. Yes, yes, yeah. You give a bomb money in the back to cash check. I got them before, no be property. Depend near your intimate sympathy. Manum Pisha, Pasho, Nanatachi, Alomo, Casapaco, and the dry daddy. Jawo Chrome, Bisakubabu, and Etaju. You do, Untimate Yamugu. This is Capudo, send up to Su. The blessing now. I let you Rasta fuwa krum, Rasta fuwa krum. Haro fuwa krum, Haro fuwa krum. Fresh boys, fresh girls, fresh boys, fresh girls. Where am I? I'm Trafe, I'm Kwajalami. Rasta fuwa krum, Rasta fuwa krum. Haro fuwa krum, Haro fuwa krum. Fresh boys, fresh girls, fresh boys, fresh girls. Where am I? I'm Trafe, I'm Kwajalami. Them times if I'm in the mountain, Friday night, a boy and natch it, forget to wash it. And if I not so, just mama son tonight, you room. I was so come magazine, born to a yo salamujin. And now join your table, bitch, feeling free. Last time pensa, one roll nicodine, and you dope. When you see car, you the joke. Guess if I broke, cause coffee, you broke. Work hard on the low. Anything for the dough, like check the dough. Come to us, what in your wording. I'm only too strong to me, I'm wording. And then me will get that's what I'm saying. You can ask about me way back, I don't sing, you Rasta fuwa krum, Rasta fuwa krum. Haro fuwa krum, Haro fuwa krum. Fresh boys, fresh girls, fresh boys, fresh girls. Where am I? I'm Trafe, I'm Kwajalami. Rasta fuwa krum, Rasta fuwa krum. Haro fuwa krum, Haro fuwa krum. Fresh boys, fresh girls, fresh boys, fresh girls. Where am I? I'm Trafe, I'm Kwajalami. Roman yende. Ya brokeke, sorry the asa, so do for some man pusa say. Today be today, Obi Ajini pay. Sister Aisha, Yanshisha, no cocaine. Oh, new generation, money belongs to the youth. Some build mansions, others they drink pepper soup. What be the action? You for look sharp, don't be thief. Millions and thousands. Let's be one and just forget the beef. Rasta fuwa krum, Rasta fuwa krum. Haro fuwa krum, Haro fuwa krum. Fresh boys, fresh girls, fresh boys, fresh girls. Where am I? I'm Trafe, I'm Kwajalami. Rasta fuwa krum, Rasta fuwa krum. Haro fuwa krum, Haro fuwa krum. Fresh boys, fresh girls, fresh boys, fresh girls. Where am I? I'm Trafe, I'm Kwajalami. What's up, Shaker?